All right.
Moving on.
Well, let's go ahead and discuss some Week 17 news. I mean, there's, like I said earlier, there's some headlines to talk about. We always started out though with the injury report, so let's start there. Not the longest injury report. We do also, and we'll get into some COVID stuff, but we'll do that with a COVID update here. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's start with the injury report. Indianapolis tight end Jack Doyle, knee and ankle were both injured in this last game. Houston wide receiver Philip Dorsett has a foot injury. Philadelphia running back Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard both got injured. Miles Sanders broke his hand, and Jordan Howard ended up with a stinger after the game. Jacksonville running back James Robinson, Achilles tear, season ending, done for the year, and again may not be back for the beginning of next year, just the nature of his Achilles injury. We got LA running back Daryl Henderson has an MCL sprain. Kansas City running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire went down with a shoulder injury. Also, safety Tyrann Mathieu went down with a quad injury. Last four here, Carolina cornerback Stephon Gilmore went down with a groin injury. Chicago safety Tease Tabor ended up with an ankle injury in the game. Tampa Bay linebacker Shaquille Barrett, ACL and MCL sprain, will not be he won't be playing for the rest of the regular season.
Surprise.
It's just up in the air when he'll be ready to come back during this playoff run, because it might stretch all the way up until the Super Bowl. And then a big one for this team still trying to lock in their playoff seeding. San Francisco quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo has a UCL tear, tendon in your thumb there was torn, and I believe there was an early report that he had either a broken thumb or also a chipped thumb. So there also might be bone damage in there too. So that is everything.
I think it's safe to say he's probably done for the season, unofficially.
I don't know. I mean, if the UCL tear could be healed and they still make the playoff, and if it's a chip bone, I think he could still play with it. If it's actually broken, then I do agree it's probably done for the season. But it's just a matter of,
do we not understand this man's history?
I do understand that.
Yeah, it's we know where it's going. So yeah. I think it would be smart to just go ahead and allow him to unofficially shut this man down. You do have a backup quarterback, but I guess it does depends on what's at stake, and still got 2 weeks of football to still play here, to see where they end up at. But at the same time, big picture is you plan for your future. Now, I just don't want to, do you really want to jeopardize this man's health for a game, just to get a W?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the case, what are we going to see out of Trey Lance moving forward?
That's something I think we're all interested in seeing, because, man, for all the hype, he's gotten a less amount of reps, and he's got no work
out of any of the
right, and was not projected to be at least not last on the list, and yet he's really got out of since week 1 or week 2, week 3, we haven't really seen him at all. He
did have because I think Jimmy Garoppolo went down earlier on this year with like a knee injury for a couple of weeks, and he did play, but it was a very quiet time. There's a lot more other exciting things happening across the league, and this is when San Francisco went on that losing streak. So we were just like, oh, okay, this might be it for them, until Jimmy Garoppolo came back and got them back into the playoff picture here. So right. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage this moving forward with the two quarterbacks. Before we get into some pretty tragic news for any NFL fan, let's talk about the COVID update and everything. So the NFL and the NFLPA have now cut COVID isolation time down to just 5 days, just in kind of congruence with the CDC timelines for quarantines for vaccinated players. Now, for unvaccinated players, again, nothing has changed. And now we have a couple of key quarterbacks and other players that are on this list. I've got 3 guys that are on the list this week that I think are really going to have big effects on the outcomes of games this upcoming week. It starts with Indianapolis. He was placed on the COVID-19 reserve list. Carson Wentz was, but I know you came and said that he might have just gotten pulled off of it. I still have not.
He is officially off.
He is officially
I'm
off.
looking at the report right now. Wentz is off the COVID list, but he still needs the doctor's okay.
Okay. So that's why it hasn't popped up on my end yet, because I only get it when he's officially okay to play.
Okay. But he is off the list.
Gotcha. Okay, so he's off the COVID-19 list, so there is a possibility that he plays tomorrow. So I guess that's probably a game time decision. See how he does during warm-up.
More than likely, because they got the other guy. What's that? Fromm?
Jason Fromm.
Fromm, yes, they got him. He took all the first team reps this week, and they did everything possible to make sure that he was ready to go. But if not, they go back to Wentz. Not like Wentz needs to actually run with the ones. You already know the system. He just got to just jump back in there, and it's just more about is he ready to go? More so than anything.
Let's hope, because man, I think they're going to need Carson Wentz for this upcoming game versus the Raiders. So
I think so too, and I'm like, let's not put all this on Jonathan Taylor's.
Yeah,
because that's not a recipe. I don't care how great a running back you may have on any franchise. Don't just put it all on that one guy. It's just, goodness. I mean, we've seen some legendary guys be able to do it and do it well and sustain it for quite a while. But it's just not a recipe for winning, So with that being said, let's fingers crossed. I really do hope Carson Wentz comes is ready. We're ready to suit up, because again, all they need is a game manager. He doesn't have to go out there and save the world. He just needs to go out there and just play his game, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I agree. Well, a quarterback who I know will not be playing is going to be Kirk Cousins. He was placed on the COVID-19 reserve list yesterday, and that, since he is unvaccinated, automatically takes him off any chance of playing. So that's that. He will not be playing this week.
And the possibility of next week.
Yeah, that is also up in the air for him too. So we'll wait to see how that plays out. But now it's all but done. Minnesota has no chance. I mean, you're going into Green Bay with Sean Mannion as your starting quarterback.
Who's they starting quarterback?
Sean Mannion.
Who?
Exactly.
I would have just kept saying who till you called me. I'm like, who? I heard his name earlier. It didn't even resonate in my memory. And you said it again. I'm like, wow. Like, who? So my first who was the real, but after that, I'm just like, who is this dude? So I'm like, didn't they just get a quarterback in the draft?
Kellen Mond. Yeah.
Yes. Where is he at? And why is he not playing? Wow, that's sad. That's sad if you're a Viking fan and I'm not. So yeah, the fact that we're recording, they can see me. I want y'all to see my disdain.
Well, I don't know if we're still going to be this as a video. It still might just be audio only.
Oh, okay, never mind. But whatever the case, man, I'm smiling from cheek to cheek because this is funny to me. Because this is another heartbreaking year for you all, and just to see where Kirk Cousins is, what it came down to. And I mean, I don't wish this for any team. It's so fitting for the Vikings. Now he gets COVID down the stretch. Like you have no chance of getting in the playoffs now. Y'all asking too much. No, okay, so third string quarterback here, nobody knows, comes in and leads them to victory. In some kind of way, they get in on in some bubble scenario and get it to 7 seed. Okay, great. What are you going to do in the playoffs if you happen to pull this hat trick off?
Even though I am, and I will definitely be rooting for Sean Mannion in this game.
So,
I mean, like, regardless, as a Bears fan, I am desperately rooting for Sean Mannion in this game.
I don't get it twisted. They need to beat. They do need to beat. They do need to beat Green Bay in Green Bay. And like, why not? If you can have a crap season, however, if you could sit there and salvage and sweep the Packers,
yeah,
pull off this Chess Rockwell type thing nonsense, where you have no playoff hopes, but you can beat one of the top teams in the league convincingly for some strange reason, I'll take it. Just anything to hinder them and let some real teams like the Dallas step up.
I knocked him off last week.
There you go. Yeah, you did. So, and I knocked all y'all off. So I don't know what that's to be said about any of this. So it's all a wash. So, huh?
So you didn't knock me off. I knocked myself off.
I got you some weeks ago. But, that's what
I don't remember. That doesn't matter.
Of course you don't, because you didn't beat me. It was nothing. It was just a win. It wasn't nothing.
Keanu was also placed on the COVID-19 list.
Hey,
that's actually going to be a big one in my opinion.
You gonna respond? You gonna respond to me or not?
No.
Go ahead.
All joking aside, though, there was some tragic news that came across multiple deaths this week that I think any NFL fan should definitely be reeling about. For one, John Madden passed away at 85 years old. I think this was on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then former NFL head coach Dan Reeves also passed away at 77. And then for anybody in Chicago, I mean, this name is synonymous with Chicago Bears football. Jeff Dickerson passed away as well at 44 due to complications with cancer. So we had multiple deaths in the NFL world this week that were not easy sights to see coming across the breaking news alerts this past week. Those were not at all. And of course, honorable mention, Betty White passes as well. Just to throw that out there, just an iconic. Yeah, this has not been a good week in that regards, but all will be missed. I'm shocked you brought up the Dan Reeves thing. I thought that was a little bit before your time, but again, I'm an historian of the game. Just saying, he was the coach of the Dirty Birds. Yeah. Oh God, Dan Reeves. So I grew up watching this guy, so yeah. That was all those names were. I think that was more shocking to me than even John Madden. When I thought I'm having a Mandela effect with Madden. I thought he already passed. Don't ask me why. Gotcha. I wasn't even, you just had this person alive, because I didn't see him for a while. I didn't know it. He's been out of the spotlight for. And I think I made that synonymous with he died or passed away or something. I don't know. Yeah, just shame on me, but yeah, I get it. Tragic though, definitely tragic. And I don't mean for all the Madden gamers, like, oh, I know his name because it's the name of the game, and I hear his voice on the thing. No, I mean, I knew him as the announcer, of course, and him, the coach, was before my time. So, but the hell, I knew him as an announcer before I even knew that he was a coach. Yeah, I knew he was a coach, but it was so far back in the day, and no one ever talks to him in regards, or brings him up as the coach until now. All of a sudden, now they do, yeah. Like, okay. But it is what it is. But yes, definitely tragic news, and I'll let you keep moving. Yeah, well, that's all I had. I think those were some of the biggest ones this week that we saw come across, and we just wanted to give them a mention on the show. But moving off of the sad news, we are looking at the opening this week of the, I guess, what is now a legal interview period or kind of setup period for head coaches. Okay. So I want to start with some reports of some coaches on the hot seat making some interesting comments. And I alluded to this guy to start back in the last segment. Pete Carroll reported earlier this week that Seattle simply needs to retool, not rebuild. And he said this after 8 years of so-called retooling. So I'm just sitting here like, so what was the last 8 years? What have the last 8 years been if not retooling? because clearly retooling's not working. So obviously, to me, I just think Pete Carroll has kind of completely lost all touch with what Seattle is and what they need to do. And I think that's the reason why we're going to see Russell Wilson move right on along and call it for his time in Seattle. But that's just
where goes Wilson, goes Pete Carroll's career as a coach. So yeah. I'll say at least his tenure as this top elite coach, that's it. You know, he's on the downcline of his career now, because him having to go through a rebuild and getting back in contention and being competitive again, we're talking another 5, 6 seasons from now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how much more football has this guy got in him? At some point, he's going to have to retire, you know, just because he's just going to have to, you know. So I think we've seen our best days of Pete Carroll behind us at this point. But and I'm sorry, I don't feel any remorse. He did this to himself, you know. And I think he pulled out a little stunt off last year. I've been so down and out on this guy, and he seemed like he's just been trying to double down all season long, and even to what you just stated, like. What are you talking about? I mean, between you and Nagy, man, y'all have some real questionable sound bites going into these press conferences, and wordplay and word choice of what y'all trying to say and not say, and coded messages and talking around things. And I'm like, enough. Yeah, you know what this culminates to? Y'all are done. That's what this is. This is all it's really come down to. Y'all done. So.
Agreed.
That's all I got.
Well, I got another guy that I think is done. This one was just like, you're grasping at straws here, bud. Vic Fangio reports he believes he deserves another year in Denver. I'm sorry. You don't deserve squat, bud. Like, it's a privilege to be a part of the NFL in the first place. Like, the statement itself to me was just so out of touch.
Wow.
So I just had to throw that one in there. Also, Matt Nagy says that he believes he will finish coaching out the season. I thought it was a given. The Bears don't typically fire. They have never fired a coach in the middle of the season. So,
and he said he believes he will finish at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know what? Oh my God. That is such a weak sauce line to me. Because it reminds me back in the 1996 playoffs, Chicago Bulls versus the Miami Heat. Miami Heat and Pat Riley went over. Pat Riley left New York and went over to the Heat. You know, so he was building this powerhouse over there with Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway. So they felt they had this team that was in place that was going to actually challenge Chicago for the title. You know, now this is the second tour. So this was the amped up Chicago Bulls team. This wasn't the historical first three. Like they were like a normally good team, and then they became this super team, basically. Yeah. So he thought that the team was ready for him. So Alonzo Mourning made it a point. All of the press conferences, like, yeah, we really feel good about what we're gonna do. We about to win this game. We're gonna take one of these games in Chicago. Blah blah blah. Okay, fast forward after 2 games, Chicago's up 2-0. That they blew them out in both games. And so, Alonzo Mourning, like, okay, focus is shifting back to Miami, blah, blah, blah. We got a good home crowd. We got a good home record. We really play this team tough. We will take game 3, blah, 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 this, and that. Okay, fast forward just a little bit faster. Guess what? Bulls are up 3-0. They shellacked them for 3 straight games. So Alonzo Mourning goes on to goes on to another press conference, post-game interview, I should say. And this is where I'm going. This was my point. Now, what do you think his message was going to be after all of this has happened? He was super confident. They were going to do all these things. None of it has happened. What do you think that this man's message to the outer public should be, as opposed to what it was? Yeah, if I'll just say should be. What do you think he should be saying at this point?
I mean, if it was me, I'd just be At that point, I don't know. We've been. I'd probably be like Pat Bev and Lou Will when they were playing up against KD. It was like, promise we tried. Like it's Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman and like what else do you want to do?
You would think it would be something to that, not necessarily in that way to save face and all that, but some type of sentiment. This man, he doubled down and he said, first thing came out of his mouth, we will not get swept in this series. No one ever said you was going to get swept. What are you talking about? You said you was going to do X, Y, and Z to the Chicago. You didn't do none of that. So all he going to come out with is we will not get swept. And of course, they didn't get swept. They lost in 5.
Gotcha.
But my point being is it took you to go down 3-0 to finally home in on what was real in your world of basketball. And so this is what I'm hearing now with these coaches, and they doubling down in these damn press conferences. And well, I really do think I'll finish out the last 2 games. Was it really in question whether or not you finished or not? Does it even matter whether or not you finished? And who cares? I mean, outside of you getting 2 more game checks, I don't. You know, that's a personal thing. That has nothing to do with
they get it anyway, even if they're fired.
Was that, you really don't see yourself, you see yourself still being around for the next 2 games? My question to that would be like, who the hell cares? I don't know what the question was as to why you answered that. But, maybe somebody asked, do you really feel you'll be back for the next 2 games? And he just answered it. But my point being is it shouldn't even be a topic of relevance really for him. So like, dude, just coach until you can't coach no more. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
Whatever is going to happen, I don't see it going beyond the next 2 win games. I know that you're still a little bit more optimistic that there's the possibilities of them mucking this up even further, and I get that. But if conventional wisdom is going to prevail forward, we should be watching the final 2 Nagy coach games in our lifetime. So
I mean, that's not what I'm worried about with this team, and everybody knows my sentiment is that they're just. I'm not even going to get into it.
No, you're good. It's not necessary.
Yeah. So there's some other underlying things that they need to solve before we even touch the fact that Matt Nagy needs to go. But regardless, but there are some teams, and one team in particular, Jacksonville, who are planning on interviewing some guys for their head coaching position. So one guy Jacksonville has already put a feeler out for is Super Bowl champion Doug Peterson. Called him up to see if he'd be interested, and they are set to interview him. Either they already have interviewed him this week or they're set to interview him today or tomorrow. And also a name that I was not expecting to hear in the kind of carousel of coaches, Jim Caldwell.
What about him?
He's set to interview for the Jacksonville position.
I don't like Caldwell in that spot, but
I like Caldwell, but I don't know where I would like him at.
Yeah, he got he inherited a Dungy-led built team, and they got way more credit than I think he should have gotten. But if I'm not mistaken, did he not coach in Detroit at one point?
Yeah, he did.
Some capacity. That was kind of like what. Then it was like it is Detroit, so it's God. He's only coached in the extremes, if that makes sense. Really good situation and a really bad situation. Like I have not seen, so I really don't know what type of coach he is, to be honest. Personally, I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm actually like, if I had to evaluate him, I don't really know what type of coach he is. Can he take over a good team? Absolutely. Can he raise the level of a really bad team? No. So I mean, what do I take from that? I don't know. He's Phil Jackson. What do you want me to say? There's nothing to be taken from that. So,
well, that was just the news that I had there. So.
But I guess, to hear that in Jackson, oh God, dude, I'm like, please take Houston's job. Don't take Jackson. Not that Houston's job.
I don't think Houston's job should be open. Yeah.
Not that it's open. I'm just making it. Like, man, wait. I don't know. I guess you got to take the jobs that are available to you. But I'd rather it be him than be enemy, because I do not want be enemy his first job to be some questionable franchise that's never been anywhere, never going any type. Like, dude, they're asking too much out of you. And I see certain coaches don't get a second chance after situations like that. And I guess that's why I'm a little bit down on Caldwell, especially being, coaches of color. Like, man, I'd rather them get give you a fair shake job, seriously. And I'm not saying there's a lot of jobs open, but man, there's some jobs you just need to just hard pass, I think Jacksonville is one of them, but that's just me.
Somebody's got to take it, though.
I understand that. Just don't think it should be them.
All right.
Like, you're going to bomb elsewhere. Don't bomb there.
All right. So then let's go ahead and talk standings as we always do. Gonna give a little bit of a playoff picture update. Okay. We now have 6 total teams that have clinched the playoffs. We've got 5 in the NFC and only 1 in the AFC. And mentioned it earlier. Let's start with the AFC. The one that's got it already locked up, Kansas City. They will be in the playoffs this year for sure. No questions asked. That team will be playing playoff football this year. Then we've got Tennessee is at 10. Oh, sorry. Kansas City's 11-4. They've won their division. Tennessee is in second place right now, 10-5. Division still up for grabs. Cincinnati is 9-6. Division is still wide open. I think all 4 teams in the AFC North are still able to get the division crown.
Oh yeah, Cleveland can still win this.
Yeah,
which is baffling. But go ahead.
Buffalo also 9-6. Division still up for grabs. They just need to win out, and they've got it. Or New England to lose a game, and they've got it. And then wild card spots, you got Indianapolis at 9-6, New England at 9-6, Miami at 8-7, and then the first 3 out are Baltimore 8-7, Chargers 8-7, and Raiders 8-7. So very, very tight race. I mean, we're looking at from 2 down to 10. We're separated by 2 games. So it is a very close race, very tight race, and a lot can happen with these seedings in the last 2 weeks here.
And again, if you're not New York, Houston, or Jacksonville, you still have a shot. It's just 3 teams are just out, like clearly out, and everybody else is
still has a shot. Yeah. Let's look at the NFC. We've got 6 teams still alive, and so let's go back to the AFC really quickly. There's 12 total teams, going back to your point, that are vying for a spot for 6 spots that are left. As opposed to the NFC, there are 6 teams still alive for the only 2 spots that are left in the NFC wildcard picture.
I don't like them odds and musical chairs there.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But looking at them, we've got Green Bay, 12-3, division leader. They will be playing playoff football. They've had it locked up for a couple of weeks now. Dallas has officially won the division this week, 11-4. They are going to be playing playoff football. The Rams have not won the division yet, but they have locked up a playoff spot, and they are the leader in the division at 11-4 right now. Tampa Bay also 11-4, also a division leader and division winner after beating Carolina this past week. Arizona 10-5 has locked up a playoff spot even with their loss last week, but they are still viable of getting that division crown as well. So still up in the air there at 10-5, but at 6 we've got San Francisco at 8-7, and at 7 we've got Philadelphia, and then the first 3 out, all 7-8, Minnesota, Atlanta, and New Orleans. So those are the final teams there. And for our officially eliminated teams, as we already knew, Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, the Jets, and Chicago have already been eliminated, but we do add 2 more teams to the mix. Giants, welcome. Officially done. Seattle, welcome. Officially done for the season. You're not going to be able to make it to the postseason. So that will be that. But let's talk about playoff clinching scenarios for week 17. because it's going to get wild. So let's talk AFC first, starting with Kansas City. Kansas City can clinch a first round bye this week. All they need is a win versus Cincinnati, who is 9-6, and they need Tennessee to lose to the 8-7 Miami Dolphins. I don't think that's too far out of the question. That is actually a very viable thing to be able to win that first round bye this week. Then let's talk about Tennessee. Tennessee can they can win the division crown this week. All they would need is to get a win versus Miami, 8-7, or they need Indy to lose to the Las Vegas Raiders at 8-7 as well. Those are the two options there, and they will actually lock up the AFC South crown. Cincinnati can also lock up their division with just a win versus Kansas City. If they beat Kansas City 11-4, they have locked up the AFC North title, and that's theirs to take home to the bank. Let's look ahead. Buffalo as well. They can lock up a playoff berth at least this week. All they need to do is get a win versus Atlanta, and they would need Baltimore to drop a game versus the Rams at 11-4. So that's going to be a little bit tougher.
Talk about it. Easy scenario there.
Yeah.
So you just got to beat Atlanta. Did I get that right?
Yeah, no, they have to beat Atlanta, and they need Baltimore to lose.
Okay. Not there. I got it. Let's keep it moving.
So, I mean, you never know. Indianapolis can clinch a playoff berth. All they need to do is just win. If they win versus the Raiders this week, it's locked up. They've got it. New England can clinch a playoff berth this week with a win versus Jacksonville, and they would also need Miami to lose to Tennessee. So, I mean, that game could go either way.
I'm very interested to see how this New England Jacksonville game turn out. Just throwing it out there.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be very clear. New England is riding a 2-game losing streak. So,
well, we'll talk about that in a little bit here.
We will. I'm just making a point.
Let's talk about the NFC side of things. Green Bay can also clinch up a first round bye this week. What they need to do is get a win versus Minnesota, who's 7-8. That's not a hard task, Green Bay. But I mean, hey, it's Green Bay. They've been close to losing a lot of games, and neither here nor there. Sorry, but They would also need Dallas to lose versus Arizona. I mean, Arizona hasn't been that hot this week or the last few weeks, so it definitely could be something viable for them.
Right.
The Rams can clinch the NFC West this week. All they need to do is get a win versus Baltimore and have Arizona lose versus Dallas. Philadelphia can clinch a playoff berth this week with a win versus the Washington football team and a loss from Minnesota and New Orleans. They need both of those teams to lose. San Francisco can clinch a playoff. Oh, they would also need. No. Yeah, New Orleans and Minnesota. They need both of those teams to lose to get in. Philadelphia. San Francisco, rather, would need a win versus Houston. That shouldn't be too hard. And also, they need a loss from Minnesota, New Orleans, and Atlanta for San Francisco to lock it all up. I don't know what the reasoning is for that, but that is the breakdown there. So that is what everything is looking like in contention territory here. So thoughts on that?
Well, with 2 weeks left, there's still a lot to be
decided.
Yes, man, you can't be like, if I win this one and then these 3 other ones lose here. I'm like, come on, man, these are not even real scenarios right now. It's just play and just see where everything falls after the week is over with. But yeah, it's talk about parity. Like the fact that the playoff pictures are so murky right now, this late in the season, is a testament to just what type of league, the type of season it has been. And I think it's good for football, and it keeps you, man, on the edge of your seat. Definitely keeps you engaged for the entire year. Yeah. Not that any real serious football fan will be engaged regardless, but even for the casual fan, if this can't draw you in, nothing else will. I mean, but these are strong narratives that that's starting to build up. The intro to playoff football that's looming in the next couple of weeks. So
I mean, basically for the AFC, all of the AFC is in playoff mode already.
Yeah. And you can't even get anybody to clinch anything over there. Where you look over to the NFC side, you got multiple 11 win teams, and you only got one double digit team in the AFC altogether, or two technically. And that's it. And it ain't even the two that you would probably expect them anyway. Maybe one of the two, but it's like man, and it's just insane. And to have all but three teams in the AFC in playoff contention, I'm like, I've never seen that type of parity.
Well, I mean, there's 4 in the NFC that are out of it, so like it's a pretty wide open game right now, and any of these teams can be in any position right now. Like Green Bay could fall all the way down to 4, pretty easily there. Like. They drop 2 games, boom, you're down to 4. Like Dallas will take the reins, and it's just an insane picture right now. So I just wanted to look at some of those scenarios. I mean, that these are all of the clinching scenarios that can happen this week. So, and a lot of teams will be, I think next week is the week we'll see a lot of these guys start filling into this officially eliminated window here.
I got you. I'm gonna need that list because I'm watching the games. I'm not gonna be able to keep up with all these different type of scenarios, and that's because it at this point in the matchups we might be overlooking the game just based on who the teams are, not understanding that there's all kind of playoff implications riding on on some of these games because they're very indirectly affecting the playoff standings.
For sure.
Exciting times. That's what I really want to get at.
Gotcha.